Hey, so in this video, I do want to go over like the importance of like critical thinking and wisdom. Um, there isn't a whole lot difference between the two. I mean, I tried looking for a definition, from Oxford. Essentially, critical thinking is the ability to, how should I say, make good judgments, essentially, looking at something in an objective manner, or at least attempting to make a good judgment. And then wisdom is essentially having knowledge and ability to make good judgment and whatnot. Um, but these things are pretty important to having a functioning society, I believe. The issue with it is not super common to necessarily have the characteristics of being like a critical thinker or being wise. That's because they they have to be taught. You have to learn it somehow. I'm not saying that one can't be naturally gifted in that way, but you know, for a lot of people who may have not necessarily been taught by a person, they learn through life experiences to critically think and be wise. Um, and and I think, you know, that is not is not necessary. You can actually have be a critical thinker and be wise through teachers, right? Um, and I think it'd be like better because on average it'd be more people have a bit more on average be able to do these things a bit more readily, right? And the importance of it is that um, these things allow you to critical thinking wisdom allow you to make measured decisions or at least make a balanced decision. It doesn't necessarily make allow you to make the right decision though, but it does mean that your decision was thought out, right? And one can argue that a well thought out decision is technically better than the right decision that wasn't thought out because you didn't necessarily, it may not necessarily be repeatable or it was almost like a fluke in a way, or it can lead you to making irrational decisions in other realms because it just worked out that time, right? And so that's that's like one of the issues with not being able to critically like think and having actually making the right decision, right? And critical thinking and wisdom also are good for essentially parameters, measuring sticks for understanding when you're operating from fear and greed, right? Fear and greed are like basic natural, like base level animal instincts that, we all have. And so you need some way to like make sure that you're not operating from these places, right? Because it can be very disastrous if you don't have it under control, right? Um, and the cool thing about critical thinking and wisdom is your ability to even distill insightful thoughts, even from bad sources. Like if you could poorly understand a subject, but still have profound insight that could work elsewhere because you're wise, right? Um, that being said, being a critical thinker and being wise doesn't does not have the ability to necessarily replace facts or knowledge or like studying um, within a particular subject, right? So um, an expert is still an expert, but it's still good to have a wise expert, essentially. Yeah, and all this to say that wisdom and critical thinking, I believe them to be transcendental in nature, as in is not necessarily the base. components of person of a typical human, but with guidance, you can develop it and make it a part and integrate it into who you are, right? Yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, probably some other things I thought about on the subject that don't necessarily remember at the moment, but uh, that's kind of like my viewpoint on like things like critical thinking and wisdom. Yeah.